Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charles Raether. Welcome to our exclusive series overview of the E-2 visa. After you've watched the videos in this series, you will be so good about E-2, we might even consider hiring you to work for our team. I don't know any other resource that's out there on the internet that gives you such a detailed overview of the E-2 process, what it is, what it consists of, and why it might be a great option for you. And you know what? If it's not a great option for you, no hard feelings either, because there's a multitude of other options that might be better for you and your family. So today we're going to focus on the E-2, but again, keep in mind, if after watching this video you realize this might not meet your goals, please reach out to us directly to set up a personal consultation to discuss exactly what you're looking to do and how we could assist with that. And so without further ado, let's talk about what the E-2 is in this introductory module before we get into some of the other details. So the E-2 is, first of all, a non-immigrant visa, and that means you're not planning to immigrate. Does that really matter? Well, depending on what country you're from and where the interview you'll have is, sometimes they're concerned about your ability to show that you have ties with your home country that would cause you sooner or later to return back home. If you're from an economically very developed country, Canada, maybe a country in Western Europe, Japan, they tend not to worry too much about you proving the ties you have with your home country. If you're from a less developed country, then they tend to focus a little bit more on that, and they want to see that you really have some ties. Could be having a business, relatives, property, other things, children that might stay behind that would cause you more likely than not to return back to your home country after some period of time. Now, having said all this, the interesting thing is what's great about the E-2 is you can use it for a long time. You can renew it without limitation. You know, clients that might renew it 3, 4, 5 times, they might be here 10, 15 years. So on the one hand, you have to prove that you're not planning to immigrate, but some cases you can spend, quite a long period of time here, maybe a generation or even longer on that E-2 as well. So it's kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type situation. But in any case, if you're looking for a temporary option that gets you to the US, gets you here quickly, without too much of a headache and a problem and investing as much, say, as in an EB-5, the E-2 might be the option for you. So what are some of the other benefits of the E-2? Well, first of all, like I said, it's relatively pretty fast. I would say from the start till you get your interview at the embassy, you're looking at about 6 months, could be less even, maybe 5, possibly 4 if you get lucky with setting up the appointments. That depends on the waiting time in the embassies, and we just can't predict that from our perspective. But I would say 4 to 6 months, and by U.S. immigration standards, that's very fast. That's one advantage. The other advantage is you, your spouse, and your kids up to 21 all qualify and can come with you. So the children can come to study here. Unfortunately, the children do not receive a work permit, but your spouse would receive a work permit, and he or she will get a social just like the main applicant. And the spouse can work anywhere he or she would like. So if you're the father, let's say you're the main applicant for the E-2, you can only work for your company. So that might be a downside, but your spouse could work anywhere she would like. And so sometimes when we plan who's going to be the main applicant, we might have, maybe the spouse be the main applicant because he or she's not planning to do a lot of work or not looking for an outside job. And one of the two spouses who's looking for an outside job would be the accompanying spouse and would have an EAD that would allow him or her to work wherever they would like. The other benefits of E-2, actually something that a lot of people don't know about is for purposes of tuition for college or university, as far as I know, every state is the same in this regards. They treat E-2 visa holders as in-state residents. So you're treated the same way as if you were a citizen or even a green card holder. If you've been residing in that state for at least a year when your child applies to higher education at a state or government-owned university or college in that state you reside in, they treat you as an in-state resident and you qualify for the in-state tuition, which can be 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times less than if you were a foreign student or an out-of-state student. So if you've got children close to college age, this could be a source of great savings for you as well. What are some of the benefits? Like I mentioned, you only have to invest about $100,000. What you have to do with that money, you just can't plunk $100,000 into your U.S. corporate account and then apply. There's certain things you have to do, spend the money and show some commitments of the funds. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But you only have to invest about $100,000, and it's not a hard figure. You could do $90,000. You could probably even do $80,000. I don't think I'd risk investing less than $80,000 in this day and age. That's probably a little bit too low. But again, $100,000, it's a lot less than an EB-5 that requires you to invest $800,000. The other advantage with the E-2 is the duration of the validity of the visa. Now, a lot depends on what country you're from. If you're from Canada, UK, most Western European countries, Armenia, Grenada, you get the E-2 for 5 years. That's a great period. That's the longest that you can get it for. The shortest is 90 days. So there are some countries, Moldova, I think there's a treaty with Syria. I think it's a 90-day treaty as well. That's obviously less advantageous. But the fact that the visa is valid for 90 days does not mean you can only stay in America for 90 days. It just means you have to get here before the visa expires. Regardless of how long your visa is valid for, when you enter on an E-2, everybody gets 2 years. So it doesn't matter if you're Moldovan or British, you get 2 years of status of stay here when you come. So if you decide not to leave the US, your visa expires, every 2 years you can just continue to renew your status here. Or you can choose to renew your visa at the embassy. And the thing is, once you've got that first E-2, it's a lot easier to get the renewals. Some of the embassies, you don't even have to show up for an interview. You just send in your passport, you upload some documents online. It's really pretty straightforward, usually pretty easy, and you can keep, continuing that every 5 years, renewing it. So for some people, that's just, works perfectly for them. They can live here in the US, see how things go. And if at some point in the future, they'd like to get a permanent green card, permanent residency, that's something we can look at. One last thing maybe to close out this introductory section is, well, what if your long-term plan is to get a green card? What role, what does an E-2 have in this situation? Well, as I mentioned, the E-2 is not an immigrant visa, so you can't get a green card based solely on your E-2. Sometimes can serve as a good stepping stone to a green card. For example, if you invest, let's say $100,000 in a business and you open a restaurant, a cafe or something, and things are going great, you're making money, and you're thinking about opening a second location. That all within the confines of that first company. You're not opening a new legal entity, and you're just opening another location. You're going to hire more people. You might be a good candidate for an EB-5 based on the E-2. So if we can show that you've invested or will invest $800,000, let's say you put in a total of $300 or $400 in the first location, and then now you're going to put another $300 or $400 in the second one, you could qualify for EB-5. We don't have a lot of clients who do that because that transition from the E-2 to the EB-5 is difficult. It's not very easy, I'll be honest with you, but that could be an option. I think what's the more common option or popular option to convert from an E-2 to a green card is one of the other green card options. And if you look at our channel or go to our website, you can see what those other options are. I would say probably the most popular is through work, employment. And what often happens is the family will come on an E-2, the spouse will get a job working somewhere else. The spouse does such a great job with their new employer. Their employer loves them, falls in love with them, wants to hire them, keep them, do whatever they want to make them happy. And you can say to them, hey, look, we're here on a temporary E-2. My status might end at some point. Would you sponsor us for a green card? And it doesn't require any investments. You've got a great relationship with your employer. They would be likely to sponsor you. Doesn't cost that much to do an EB-2 or EB-3, and you can get permanent residency. So there are options that are open, and that's always something we have to discuss with our clients, probing, what, is their current circumstances, what employment do they have right now, and trying to find that optimal option for you. If you're interested in the E-2, we've got some materials that are in the description below that you can download that gives you kind of an overview of what I just shared in this video. And in the next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of the E-2. What do you have to prove? What is the timing? What do you have to do with that money that I mentioned? And some of those other complications. So stay tuned and make sure you check out our next episode in order to get that information.